Welcome to the show. My name is Charlton with Big C. This is Charlton and Big C Sports coming to you worldwide on the Big C Sports Network, on the #1 network in the United States of America. And Big C Sports has been voted the #1 sports show in the universe, according to Big C. And them good old boys down south, I want to say bienvenidos to all of our listeners and Latin America, also across the pond in London, England, as well as Paris, France. And of course, you good old boys from Canada. You know we love you in Africa, the Big C tribe. But there's no one we love more than the good old boys down south in the land of the free and the home of the brave on a beautiful September 17th, 2018. Big C, how's it going for you good old boys down south?
Well, Charlton, I think this is something that I can say on air. I'm drunk from football. I got a little hangover going. It's like there's so much game. I didn't know which way my eyes were going. I had one eye going this way, one eye going that way.
Yeah.
I got to take some of the TVs out of the room to start with that.
Well, yeah.
I think part of it was my fault.
Yeah, it's probably your fault. At least you don't have to face Buford T. Justice, Big C, looking for good old boys that drink too much football. I want to say all is great in love and war. So much happening in the world of the sports universe, from high school football, college football, NFL football. Of course, we have Major League Baseball swinging the bat, and then Canelo. And then, those good old boys fighting down in Las Vegas. They're fighting over a lot of things, but they're not fighting for who gets to eat Big C's barbecue beef dog that he's been serving up to the restaurants down south. I do want to say today's segment is sponsored by your Northern California Cadillac dealers, home of the all-new Cadillac Escalade, the standard of the world. And when you go by and test drive yours, tell them Charlton and Big C sent you. Big C, I know so much happening in the world of politics, the world of sports. What I saw Friday was just a lot of good high school football games played all over the country, and I look forward to just bringing you Friday Night Lights on Big C Sports. I'm noticing also that NFL Sunday Night Football is bringing you high school's highlights too. I don't know what that's all about, but anyway, we've been doing that for the last couple of years on Big C Sports. Big C, what of all the things that you saw this weekend? Let's swing out to that fight in Las Vegas, and I know people talk about who's the best fighter in the world, and it's not even about who wins. I'm not talking about Canelo, Triple G. I'm talking about Pacquiao and Mayweather saying they're going to rip people off again. Big C, thoughts?
Well, they're going to go over to Japan and do that this time. They slated a fight for December.
Yeah.
And there was more action in one round of this Triple G Canelo fight, Charlton, then you're going to get in a Pacquiao-Mayweather fight in December.
Yep.
And this was just a beautiful fighting event, Charlton, that went on.
Yeah.
The first fight ended in controversy, Charlton. The second fight ended in even more controversy.
Yeah.
When you're the champion, you have to be beaten. It used to be that way in boxing.
Allegedly, yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
Yeah, it used to be that you had to knock the champ out or just destroy the champ for you to win. But in this scenario, Charlton, this is about money.
Yep.
This is about creating rematch after rematch. The first fight ended in a controversial draw that Triple G won.
Yep.
This fight, Triple G won hands down. Charlton, in the 9th, 10th, and 11th round, he just dominated Canelo.
Yeah.
And he eased off some of the 12th, maybe, punch tired.
Yep.
But he won this fight hands down, Charlton. He won this fight 7-5, 8-4.
Yeah.
But the judges didn't see it that way. And when you look at the crowd and the people that are putting money forth, that's the Mexican crowd, Charlton, and the big-time rollers that were in Vegas.
Yeah.
You set this up for that trilogy. And, people said, don't you get tired of seeing rematches like with the Warriors and the Cavaliers and, the Patriots in the Super Bowl, Charlton? Nobody ever got tired of Frazier Ali.
No.
That trilogy, Charlton, everybody sit on the edge of their couch to watch it. This is equal to that, Charlton, as far as these two combatants.
Yeah, I think it's great because sports is great. But if it's okay to get ripped off if you know you're being ripped off. But if it's when you don't know you're being ripped off, like when you're being pickpocketed, then that's not a good feeling. But when somebody just rips you off and you don't know it, and you keep paying money to see something that's not, it goes back to that Hall of Fame sportscaster that told me, Charlton, part of our job, the hardest part of sports is trying to convince people that they did not see what they just saw with their own eyes. And again, I love the sports game. And you brought up something not too long ago about why MMA is taking off, and because guys get knocked out. It happens in 3 to 5 rounds. There's no faking the funk with the MMA. Now, maybe somebody can say that, but all these boxing matches, it's like they're set up for the trilogy. And if that's what you want, that's okay. But just know that's what you're getting. Big C, that make any sense?
Well, it does, Charlton. And when you talk about this potential fight in December with Mayweather and Pacquiao, this is something that should have happened a decade ago.
Yeah.
When these guys were in their prime. And Mayweather hasn't hit anybody in his last 5 fights. Even when he fought McGregor, he just let McGregor get tired on his own.
Yep.
He talked himself out of a fight. But, what you say about MMA is that you get instant action from the bell, Charlton.
Mm-hmm.
These guys go at each other with bad intentions, period.
Yeah.
Boxing, okay, they're filling each other out. We hear the announcers say that also. They're trying to close the distance.
Yeah.
MMA run across the ring, close the distance right off the bat.
Yep.
I'm coming to kick you, hit you, elbow you. That's what I'm going to do.
Yeah.
Boxing, we get very few good fights like we had this past weekend in Vegas, Charlton. It's an unfortunate thing for the world of boxing because it's what's led us to these gladiator times.
Yeah.
With the MMA.
Yeah.
It's just, there's no one really carrying the torch when you look at boxing because MMA fights so frequently.
Yeah.
It's like every other weekend there's an MMA fight on television.
Yep. And you know why? It's because there's a lot of guys that want to go out and get beaten up just to get famous. Because a lot of the guys, unless you're one of the big draw, you don't make a lot of money. I remember, Big C, about 2 years ago, you and I did an interview, and it was Josh Emmett, who was just coming into the UFC circuit. Well, Cody Garbrandt, Josh Emmett, they all train with, it's a Team Alpha Male with the Uriah Faber Hall of Fame MMA guy. But it was right when Nate Diaz out of Stockton, California, had fought McGregor. And they fought, and most people thought that McGregor lost that first fight. And they thought also that the second fight could have been a draw, but it was given to McGregor. Number one, he's Caucasian. Number two, he's from a different country, so you're going to bring that whole country when Ireland followed him. But a lot of people thought that Diaz was a better fighter. But at the same time, it's hard to find Nate Diaz fighting anybody. And McGregor, too, since he made all that money with Floyd Money Mayweather, but it's always about marketing. And MMA has marketed right, and I think boxing, because we all don't mind have someone take money from us as long as they tell us they're taking it. So boxing is telling you, we're going to take your money from you with Mayweather and Pacquiao, and it's almost like, don't get me wrong, Big C, I know I don't mean to offend you, but it's like watching the OJs right now. It was better 30 years ago, Big C, your thoughts? I mean, this is the fact.
OJ's live 30 years ago was an awesome event to be at.
Yeah.
And, but like you said, boxing has had its heyday.
Yeah.
And it's like on life support when you realistically look at it. When there's a big boxing event, Charlton, everybody shows up.
Yep.
But there's not enough big boxing events to be promoted. When you have middleweights that are carrying the boxing world, it used to be the heavyweight champion, Charlton, was so synonymous with sports because everybody knew who he was around the world.
Yep.
Now it's a hard thing to find out who the guy is.
Yeah, that's true.
And so when you don't have a heavyweight champ, Charlton, that stands out at the pinnacle of that sport hurts.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that's part of it too, Big C. We've got to make sure we pump your microphone a little bit louder. I know you guys are having a lot of weather down south, but I think there's two things that happened with this fight in Las Vegas. The first thing that happened is there was a lot of money made in Las Vegas. The second thing that happened is people have shown you that they will pay money for scripted television. And I say scripted just because of what you said earlier. These fights are all designed for the trilogy. It would be a lot like, I won't say that Holyfield and Tyson was designed for that. They really tried to fight each other. In fact, Tyson was so frustrated, he decided to eat Holyfield in the ring. He said he tastes better than that deep fried dog he had at Big C's place, so he decided to try some of Holyfield's here, Big C. And Holyfield, because Holyfield could beat him, Holyfield did not mind having a rematch, but Tyson wanted nothing to do with it, so he tried to get himself disqualified so he wouldn't get knocked out in the ring. But he fought with his heart. He didn't fight with this trilogy in mind, Big C. because Holyfield wouldn't have anything to do with it. That's why Holyfield won both fights, Big C. Would that make any sense? Your thoughts? They did it real as opposed to Memorex and scripted. Now, Big C, your thoughts?
Well, the thing about Tyson was not used to having fights go any length, Charlton.
Right.
He knew that he was in trouble if he got to 5 rounds. So he never wanted to put himself in that trouble again. So he was trying to end it. If he couldn't get to the guy and hit him, he would just get disqualified and leave it at that. He would rather have a disqualification on his record than another knockout.
Yeah. So when you think about that, because you've seen those fights, you've been down there, you had the sweat on you. What's it like to get fighter sweat when the guy gets punched in the lips and that sweat swings like 15 feet outside to that front? What's that feel like, Big C? Do you feel honored that you got a champion sweat on you, or does it not matter at all?
Well, Charlton, the sweat is the easiest part of what's flying out your body. You got to worry about what's coming out of your nose. That's what really bothers you. And, I've sit ringside on a couple of fights, Charlton. Yeah. And I realized good seats, but not great seats. Move back to these 7 rows.
Yeah.
You can still see everything.
You can still see everything. And just in the idea of what we saw, because, again, scripted fights are a real fight. I think Mike Tyson's fights were all real. I think he had too much money and too much pride to do a scripted fight. I want to throw you back to No Moss. Roberto Duran, Sugar Ray Leonard, back in the day. Sugar Ray Leonard, Olympic champion, America's darling. Kind of like the smaller version of Muhammad Ali. Roberto Duran, he was just a meat eater, Big C. He couldn't speak English, so we don't know what he was saying when he was saying stuff to Sugar Ray Leonard. But it wasn't nice. We know that's what it was. But give me your thoughts. They had 2 fights. In that No Mas fight, people felt they were robbed. They know they felt they were robbed, but because they liked being robbed by good fighters, they didn't mind. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, I was lucky enough to be at that first fight in Montreal, Charlton, in '79 at the Olympic. Yeah. And just a festive event, Charlton. 65,000 people there in the stadium. Just electrifying. Yeah. Leonard tried to fight Duran's fight in fight 1. That's right. He wanted to go out and brawl with him, Charlton, get physical. He didn't want to stay at length. He wanted to show the world that he was tough, that he could take a punch as well as give a punch. Yep. So he played into Duran's hand and lost a decision, Charlton. Round 2, fight 2, Charlton. Yeah. In the No Mas scenario, Leonard stayed at length. He went back to being Leonard. Yep. And he frustrated Duran. It was like a Tyson scenario that we saw with Holyfield. Is that I can't catch up with the guy. He's on his wagon. He's rolling around the ring. He's throwing his jab. Every now and then he tosses in a combo, Charlton. Yep. And Duran hadn't been in that point in his career. He was always the dominant fighter in the ring where he could take the fight to his opponent. Yep. This was taken away from him, Charlton, and he felt frustrated and just said, hey, I give up. I don't want to stay out here and lose like this. And the second time we saw that was when Mike Tyson realized that he could not beat Evander Holyfield, and he bit his ear the first time. The second time, he was trying to fight everybody in the ring but Holyfield, Big C, just to get it over with and get disqualified. He saved face because he wasn't waking up off the canvas the way Ali did to Foreman back in the day. So we know if you're going to pay this money for Floyd Money Mayweather and Pacquiao, it's scripted. As long as you know that, that's okay. And that's why they're taking it outside of the country. There's still some dumb people left in the United States, but most of them, they don't want to see the scripted fight the third time. They want to see like the MMA. They want to see guys really go at it. So he'll make a lot of money fighting over there in a different country where people don't have the same type of knowledge of the game perhaps as they do here, or they're not as cynical as we are here in this country. But I do wish them all nothing but the best. It's all fair in love and war. I do want to touch on a few more things about the sports universe, Big C. When I look at what happened, kind of even on a smaller level, I think about how sports is just galvanizing all over this country. In the American League, the American Legion World Championship, Delaware beat Nevada 1-0 Saturday. Now, when you think about that, they're not big-time athletes. They're not multi-millionaire athletes. They play with their heart on their sleeves. I want to get your thoughts on how much that means to the people that play for the truth. They're not scripted, but they don't get the same type of attention. Big C, your thoughts? Well, American Legion, Charlton, is just a glorified high school baseball. Yeah. And when you look at these players that are competitive, Charlton, on a national scale, you play in the entire United States. Yeah. What was so mesmerizing about this game, Charlton, that it went to the bottom of the ninth? Yeah. And this game was scoreless. And the way that they scored was on a trick play. But, just exciting baseball, Charlton. The opportunity to play for and win a championship on any level.
Yeah.
And here it is. You have teams from opposing coasts, Charlton, East and West, where you really don't have anything on your opponent. We look at the NFL season that's going on now, college football, where they're talking about game tape, where you now can get some film on somebody. This is something where it's mano a mano. It's always a batter against a pitcher. And when you talk about solid pitching performances for 9 innings, Charlton, you got that from two teams, and you ended up with a 1-0 victory, Charlton, for the championship.
Yeah, I mean, it's important. There's a great commercial on TV, and it's about, remember, every father and every mother, you want to see your kids do well, whether they play sports or not. But I thought one of the greatest commercials, and you may have seen it, Big C, there's a father, and he's trying to teach his boy how to bat off of the little batting tee, and the boy couldn't hit the ball. I mean, he was almost like that good old boy from Washington that they're trying to give $400 million that couldn't hit the ball either. But the amazing thing is these young kids, their fathers were teaching them how to play that game. And they had a kid still in third base. He took second, and he was rounding to go to third base. And he slid into third base, and he was short by about 5 feet. That just shows you. But he tried with his heart out, Big C. And I remember those days of just being a young boy, and you play it because you love it. You don't know what you're doing, but you give it your all, and the father was there to pick him up. And I just think that's when people play with their heart. And I miss those days when we don't see that in real sport. But American Legion, you say that's about as close as we're going to find it, Big C. Your thoughts?
It is, Charlton, because it's the youth that are playing the game. There's no money involved, Charlton. There's team trying. It's like AAU basketball that you're involved in. You got these kids that go all over the country and play against each other, Charlton. You have these tournaments that they participate in. But this is also the feeder system for Major League Baseball and the college system, Charlton, are these kids. These are tremendous talents. They play with a lot of enthusiasm and enjoy for the game, Charlton.
Yeah, I think that's great. So that's why we always, on Big C Sports, we will try our best to at least honor some of these great games, these kids that play with their heart on their sleeves, and they're just trying to learn. And unfortunately, they can't really learn from some of the adults because, sometimes we do things for the money, just like those fights that get scripted as opposed to fought from the heart. I do want to just look at a couple of scores going on in Major League Baseball where they get paid to play. Colorado's at the Dodgers. San Francisco's going to be at San Diego. Toronto is at Baltimore. We have the New York Mets at Philadelphia. Kansas City's at Pittsburgh. Washington's at Miami. We talked, Big C, about NBA coming back to the Great Northwest for Seattle. And I know no one wants to talk about moving baseball teams, but for Miami to have that beautiful state-of-the-art stadium, it's a shame they domed it because Miami's a place for sunshine. Could you imagine taking a dome to the beach? But there's hardly any people there. It's almost embarrassing to show it on TV. I don't know what they're going to do about it if they're going to leave a team in Miami because the fans seem to have antipathy for the game. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, this is an organization that has won a couple of World Series in the past. The problem is that you've disbanded a team that was fairly well competitive.
Yeah.
You have new management in that's getting down to payroll. But, you have to understand when you get rid of a payroll, you get rid of good players. When you get rid of good players, you get rid of loyal fans. Fans don't want to see you putting a product out on the field and you're not trying to win.
Yeah.
That's the scenario that you have in Miami. Miami is quite similar to Los Angeles, Charlton, in many ways. There's many amenities to deal with beyond just the world of sports that you have to compete with for that dollar. And so when you see these cities and these stadiums are full all the time, Charlton, they don't have to compete for that dollar outside of sports like you do on the East and West Coast mainly, and even down in the South Florida, Charlton.
Yeah.
You have a lot of amenities you have to compete against.
Yeah, that's true. So we wish all fair and love and war. Everybody can't go to every game, but it's so sad to see a city like Miami. They got rid of a lot of people, Stanton, of course, and they just brought in some people who were trying to cut corners and save money as opposed to win championships. I do want to finish it up in Major League Baseball. Minnesota's at Detroit. St. Louis at Atlanta. What a great series. Chicago at Milwaukee. Tampa Bay at Texas. We also have the Seattle Mariners at Houston. You have Cincinnati, Milwaukee, Tampa Bay at Texas. and Seattle and Houston. We just mentioned that. So congratulations to everybody pursuing the hunt for Red October. Chicago and Arizona should also be a good series. I want to touch on something that's near and dear to both of our hearts, and that's none other than college football. College football had so many great games over the weekend. When you see teams in the top 10 get knocked off in close games as opposed to blowout wins, I was really impressed by the way that went down. But in a disappointment, I got to bring up two teams. I'm out here from the West Coast, California. You think of Pac-12. Immediately you think USC, you think UCLA. The Pac-12, for some reason, and you said the guy that lost the Texas and USC game might be on the hot seat. And I thought, well, why would Clay Helton be on the hot seat? They just won the Pac-12 last year, Big C, beating Stanford up at Levi Stadium. But Texas made them look like they just didn't care. I've never seen such a lackluster performance by a Southern California team to lose to Texas by the score, I think it was 38-14, or 38-14. But then also, when I look in Southern California at the Rose Bowl, Texas won actually 37-14. UCLA with Chip Kelly, they were knocked out by Fresno State 38-14 in the Rose Bowl. That's where they gave Kelly all of that money, all the talent in Southern California. It looks like they don't have a heart to play the game. I don't know what's happening. Do you sense that also, Big C? Your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, looking at that Texas-USC game, Charlton, that game last year went into overtime.
Yeah.
So it wasn't that USC was a dominant team against them last year when they won.
Yeah.
Physically, Texas will bring it to you, Charlton, and that's what they did. They ran up on Maryland in that opening game. Everybody thought, including us, that the season was over for Texas.
Yeah.
But, they went back home and they addressed some issues, Charlton, and they've gotten physical.
Yeah.
That's what they did to USC in that game, Charlton, is that they got physical. USC come in trying to play that finesse style of football. Texas has as much talent and speed as everybody.
Yeah.
Tom Herman, now it's a matter, can he keep it going? That's the thing, because he has some tough opponents coming up, Charlton.
Yeah.
He has Texas Tech. He has Oklahoma State. He has Oklahoma. All in the Big 12, Charlton. So his day is not an easy day. He has West Virginia.
Yeah.
So he has some tough sledding down the road. But when you look out there at UCLA, Charlton, UCLA, the glass was only half full when Kelly got the job.
Yeah.
It wasn't that he was going to come in and be a miracle worker. He was hoping to come in and stabilize the situation out there.
Yeah.
Because it takes a while to bring in the type of talent that you need to run the system that you do. You can inherit a team full of talent.
Yep.
But that talent, Charlton, is not the type of players that can play in the system that you have.
Yeah.
We've seen that with many coaches, Charlton. Brady Hoke, when he left San Diego State and went to Michigan, he didn't have the type of players that he was accustomed to playing with, Charlton.
Yeah.
They were a lot slower and bigger than what he had at San Diego State, a team that was built on speed, Charlton.
Yeah.
This is what coaches run into when they go into these situations. But just because you're in Los Angeles, just because you're at USC and UCLA, doesn't mean everybody want to stay at home and play there.
Yep.
That's the thing you have to understand. Those two universities have always recruited nationally, Charlton. But the players came nationally because you were winning.
Yep.
Neither one of those programs have dominated Charlton in the last 5 years.
Yeah, that's embarrassing for a team like Southern Cal in the heart of Los Angeles with all the tradition and all of their pride and all that men of Troy, 3 points against Stanford and 14 points against Texas. When they scored 14 to not score again in that game, I thought that was a shame. And I just look like Helton, maybe he's not the right guy for the job when you look at teams that compete for national championships. I will give somebody, one of the great announcers, in Gus Johnson. I love listening to him broadcast. I loved him even more when he was on the NFL. But he mentioned something that I see a lot of people are afraid to do. He said, I told you, we said on Friday, you're going to see that Texas justice. And it said, and Gus Johnson said on one of those plays where there was a safety in the end zone on the Texas quarterback, Ellington, and they went to the we talked about this, Big C. They held the timeout. They went to the TV booth or whatever they went to, and they came back and said that it was not a safety when we saw the ball land in the orange in the end zone. And Gus Johnson, he said, do you believe your lying eyes are the official? And it's good to see somebody call him out honestly, Big C. Does that make any sense?
Well, Charlton, a lot of calls go different ways, whether it's college or pro ball. We're seeing a lot of calls in football now, Charlton, that you question, why do you even have replay?
Yep.
You see it live with the naked eye. you don't need to go back to replay to see these things, Charlton. And they're occurring both on Saturday and Sunday now with quite frequency.
Yeah.
And I think what everybody is looking for now, Charlton, is offensive productivity. They're not looking for defensive stands. That's not exciting. They're looking for scores to be run up. You know, when you have a team scoring 40, 50, 60 points a game, Charlton, that's electrifying.
Yeah.
But when you go out there and you got a game that's 14-3, that doesn't hold people to the television.
Yeah, 3 yards of that cloud doesn't make a lot of sense. So before we get into the NFL, I just want to get your thoughts. I mean, we've been doing this since we've been talking about it this season, Big C. I want to get your thoughts, too, before we get to Big C's top 10. A big game down south was the LSU and Auburn game. And to see LSU's legit. You had a win over Miami, a blowout win. You had a win at Jordan-Hare against Auburn. That's a team that just knocked off the Washington Huskies down in Atlanta. Give me your thoughts on Orgeron. His voice might be even more raspy this season, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, I think all the fans are confused because they didn't know which Tigers they were.
Yeah.
You know, when you roll two Tigers into a stadium, that can get to people at times.
Yeah.
But when you look at that game, LSU has done something this year that they hadn't done in the past, Charlton.
Yeah.
They have two transfers in that are leaving the team. They have Edling at quarterback.
Yep.
Who has stabilized the offense. The receivers can now go downfield. You have somebody who doesn't have fear at quarterback. Even though he's completing just over 50% of his passes, Charlton, he's not afraid to chuck it. And that's something that LSU haven't had the past couple of years.
Yeah.
Also, Charlton, they have a place kicker. That's the savior when you're in college football.
Yeah.
Is to have a guy who can get it through the uprights. And that's how the game ended, Charlton. You put the game in the hands of your quarterback and your kicker, Charlton, and it came through.
Yeah.
When you look at Ed Orgeron, Charlton, he has another berth on life. He is the only coach this year who has beaten two top 10 teams.
Isn't that amazing?
When you think about it,
yeah.
Miami was in the top 10 when he beat Miami.
Yep.
Auburn's in the top 10. LSU now is moving up in the rankings, but they got a real tough schedule, Charlton. If they knock off another ranked team,
yeah,
I don't know how you don't say they're one of the top 5 teams in the country.
That's a lot of good points made there, Big C. Also, another shocker, BYU going up into Wisconsin and knocking off Wisconsin, a close game, but BYU has no business staying close to Wisconsin if they have thoughts of winning the Big Ten championship. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, there was a 22.5-point spread on that. I took BYU, okay? I'm not going to lie. I had BYU. I mortgaged the house. Because when you look at Wisconsin, Charlton, they're a solid team offensively and defensively.
Yep.
But they have a handicap at quarterback. That's their weak link. Hornibrook is not a big game quarterback. He proved it last year in the Big Ten championship, Charlton.
Yeah.
Where he couldn't get the job done throwing the picks against at Ohio State.
Yep.
Same thing here against BYU. When you look at what BYU had done coming into this game, Charlton, they had played outstanding football.
Yeah.
So, having a 22-point spread against a team that doesn't score a lot of points based on the talent that they have, they run the ball well, but they don't have a quarterback in there. And that proved its point at the end of the game when Hornibrook lost the game for them.
Yeah, I thought that was a shame.
BYU came in, Charlton, played a solid game, and actually outrushed Wisconsin in that game. That was the difference. Yeah,
that was surprising to see that too. So we've seen a lot of good action happen over the season. I do want to just regress a little bit and say it was De La Salle of Concord 27, Bishop Gorman of Las Vegas 21, and the high school game of the week. Both teams have participated in multiple national championships on the high school level. That's part of our Friday Night Lights. That game was also televised nationally from Northern California. Big C, I know there's so many games we can look at in college football, but before we get your Big C's, top 10, would you ever believe that two of the best college football teams have become kind of the babies all of a sudden, Big C? They used to be difficult places to play, teams that have multiple national championships, or at least playing for national championships and in playoffs. You think of none other than the University of Nebraska Cornhuskers and the Florida State Seminoles. Now these are teams you want to play because they have a big name, but they carry a very soft punch. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, when you think about how far those programs have digressed, these are two programs that were very synonymous with winning championships in the 90s.
Yep.
Nebraska won 3, Florida State won 2, Charlton. And not only that, in this new era of playoffs, Florida State competed twice for the national championship, Charleston, when he won. But when you look at these schools have gone now, Charleston, here it is, Nebraska's 0-2.
Yeah.
They lost to Colorado at home, but even more troubling, Charleston, they lost to Troy.
Wow.
Troy of Alabama.
Yeah.
Boise State had just destroyed Troy the week before.
Yeah.
Only gave up 14 points, I believe it was. And they went into Lincoln, into that home field, the third largest, most populated place in the state of Nebraska, on Saturday, and just dominated that game against the Cornhuskers.
Yeah.
But even more troubling, Charlton, when you look at Florida State, this is a team that in its two football power games, Charlton, against Virginia Tech and against Syracuse, they've only scored 10 points combined.
Wow.
They have no offense. When I look at the players at Florida State, Charlton, they remind me of high school players that are losing. They have no effort. Their offensive line that they have, Charlton, they lack talent. They lack tenaciousness.
Yep.
Normally you ask for some nasty guys to be on offensive line.
Yeah.
I mean, these guys look like they could be in a Campbell soup commercial.
They can't be.
They just running through them and stuff.
Well, running.
Yeah.
No, I think that's something else, because you never would have thought that you would see those teams fall. Think about it. Florida State, former national champion. Nebraska, former national champion. USC, former national champion. UCLA, former Pac-10 champion, and now they're all struggling just to try to find their identity. I do want to say that sports is a billion-dollar industry, and boys and girls sports is the foundation to this billion-dollar industry. And for every athletic and sporting event, you need athletic and event insurance. We work with Ben and Mark. They work with Big C Sports, whether you're a pro team, a collegiate team, a high school team, even your mom and pop soccer leagues. When you reach out to them, let them know if Big C sent you. Big C, we could go on and on and on about college football, but I want to get your top 10. Give us Big C's top 10 college football programs all over this great country. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, when you talk about the elite programs around this country, you always got to start with your buddy Nick. I know you guys do a lot of hanging out on his little lake behind his house and stuff.
You think of old Saint Nick.
Multiple boats sitting out there on his lake, Charlton.
Yes.
But, college football is just about dominance.
Yeah.
And that's what Ohio State did when they played Mississippi down in Oxford.
Yeah.
They gave up the first touchdown of the game, Charlton. But they did that just so they could get on the scoreboard.
Yep, they do that.
62 points later,
yeah,
Alabama had it in hand. Charlton, and you got to understand, this is the first Alabama team ever to score over 50 points in 3 consecutive games.
Wow.
And they look like a juggernaut.
Yeah.
Clemson, held on to that number 2 spot, when you look at them,
yeah,
in the rankings. But I like Ohio State, Charlton.
Yeah.
Ohio State went down to Texas playing a tough TCU team, Charlton. Came up with the big plays that they needed to come up with defensively.
Yeah.
Georgia is chugging along. They were last year's national champion runner-up, Charlton, at number 4.
Yeah.
You look at number 5, Penn State. And I think they've gotten happy in Happy Valley. When you look at McElhaney, the quarterback there at Penn State, Charlton, all he does is win.
Yeah.
And that's what he's doing. Everybody thought it'd be a drop-off when Saquon Barkley left. No, they're playing solid.
Yeah.
Out there in your neck of the woods, Stanford, Charlton, even without Bryce Love, they won 3 consecutive games, Charlton.
Yeah.
And so this is a team that if they can get their running game behind them, they might have an easy shot of making the playoffs. Everybody talks about Washington, USC.
Yeah.
Stanford is right there, but they have Oregon nipping on their heels, Charlton. When I look at number 7, LSU is catapulted up the charts, Charlton. They could be ranked higher, but they got a tough game coming up against Alabama in a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
Notre Dame, that solid team, Charlton, that's always there, that keeps winning by smoke and mirrors.
Yeah.
They knocked off Vanderbilt.
Yeah.
But the team that I like, Charlton, that goes under the radar consistently, they play in that SEC also, Charlton, is Mississippi State. And I got them at number 10. They are loaded with talent, Charlton, on both sides of the ball. Don't sleep on them down there in Mississippi, Charlton.
Well, definitely don't sleep on them, because there's a lot of good football being played all over this country. But I want to jump in the second half of our program to what everybody really loves, and that's the NFL. And as we jump right into it, you look at the Vikings. They cut their kicker, Carlson, who cost them a game in overtime. Why would you cut a guy just because he can't make any field goals?
Well, Charlton, kickers are always a strange breed. I go back even to the days when I was playing, and we'd be in training camp. Everybody's out there practicing. Kickers over there laying under a shade tree somewhere. That's all they do. And then they got one job. I mean, it's tough kicking the ball between those uprights, Charlton. But they're out there in practice. They might miss once all day. And you get in this situation where you're costing teams in overtime. And these kickers, Charlton, they have to be paid. They make a nice salary for what they do. But when you're missing extra points and you're missing field goals, Charlton, in back-to-back weeks, there's always somebody out there on reserve, that's unemployed that will come in and take your job. And they signed the kicker that was with Dallas. And I don't know why Jerry cut him other than salary. But he turned down a couple other positions. And he was the second most accurate kicker, Charlton, in NFL history.
Wow.
Bailey. And so Bailey is there in Minnesota now, and he's back kicking in a dome, so he'll make a difference for the Vikings.
I think that's incredible. And so it's always a game of inches. And I remember the Vikings had that same problem when they hosted a playoff game against Seattle not too long ago and up in the cold, and that's when Bridgewater was a quarterback there. They dropped that game at home to Seattle also. Give me your thoughts on when I look at this game yesterday with the Vikings and Green Bay. They played neck and neck, but we've had back-to-back ties in the NFL. I don't know if that's happened in a long time. But Rodgers looked pretty decent. Was he selling some snake oil when he was injured against Chicago in the first game of the season? Big for your thoughts.
Oh, no, Charlton, he took the needle. I told you he was going to take the needle. He had a nice big brace on his leg, Charlton. His mobility was hampered in the game. He wasn't the mobile Aaron Rodgers that we had grown accustomed to seeing. But this was a game of two titans when you think about it. They played each other to the best. They see each other twice every year, Charlton. So, the referees had a hand in this game, Charlton, so that was the major difference, along with both teams missing field goals in overtime. One of the things you got to look at, though, Charlton, when you look at the two overtime games this year, the one in Pittsburgh and Cleveland and the one with Green Bay and Minnesota, is that the overtime rule has been changed this year, Charlton. It is no longer a 15-minute overtime. It's down to 10 minutes. So there's an opportunity that may have been there last year for a team to get out of overtime with a win, but with 5 minutes less to play, Charlton, it's going to be very difficult for teams to win in overtime this year.
I want to tell you that's incredible, too, but there's another thing that came up. Watching Jacksonville and watching the Patriots, I think maybe Tom Brady got into the wrong uniform, and maybe Bortles got in the Patriots uniform because they looked like they were opposite characters yesterday. But something we cannot deny at all. This Jacksonville football team, their defense is legit. Now, this team had a lead of 10 points against New England last year in the playoffs in Foxborough. So this is not really that much of a surprise. Offensively, yes. Defensively, no, they're legit. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, when I look at what Jacksonville did offensively against New England seemed to be in disarray defensively. Blake Bortles passed for 354 yards and 3 touchdowns.
Incredible.
This was the Blake Bortles that was playing in the first 3 quarters of the NFC Championship game, Charlton. The AFC Championship game against the Patriots. But it's also the Blake Bortles who, the week prior to that, Charlton, who had ran the Pittsburgh Steelers off the field. When you look at Blake Bortles, Charlton, they were without Leonard Fournette in this game. They are 4-0 without Leonard Fournette playing. He's a much better quarterback without Leonard Fournette. When Leonard Fournette is in there, they put all the pressure on Leonard Fournette to carry the ball. And they want Blake Bortles to do less. Without him in the game, Charlton, he's an all-pro quarterback. And so they got to question themselves now. What do we do going forward? Do we keep Leonard Fournette out until he's completely healthy, or do we rush him back in the lineup? Because, Charlton, the way that they looked on Sunday, they look like the Jacksonville Jaguars when they had Mark Brunell playing quarterback.
That's true, Big C. I was really impressed with Big C. Hold on. Excuse me. I was doing a John Gruden press conference. One of the reporters said, "John, can you explain what happened? You were up by such a large margin against Denver. Can you tell us your thoughts on what happened?" And John said, Excuse me. He said they choked, Big C. Did they choke, or is it just more of John Gruden? Because this is why Al Davis fired John Gruden. This is the same John Gruden, but his belly's a little bit bigger, and his bank account's a lot bigger, Big C. But it's the same thing. John Gruden now, and you can Google this. Nothing against John, but he gets the great white hype as a coach. Take away the team he had inherited, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, with Tony Dungy's team. Took a team that Tony Dungy had built. They kicked Tony Dungy out of the door, and they gave it to Gruden, and Tampa went to the playoff and went to the Super Bowl, okay? But he's now 81 wins and 82 losses on his record that he didn't have Tony Dungy's guys. You can Google it. He's a less than 500 coach, but he's making $100 million, and they didn't have a pass rush for the second week, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, there's a lot of things that they didn't have. But, when they start throwing people under the bus and not understand. I think we saw that replay before, Charlton, 2 years ago in the Super Bowl when the Falcons were up on the Patriots. Yeah. And all of a sudden you stopped doing what you were doing to get the lead. Yep. This is the same thing. You're up by 19 points, Charlton. You got a team shut out defensively. Who stopped calling the defensive plays, Charlton?
I don't know.
All of a sudden, you just stopped doing what you were doing defensively. Your quarterback ends up the game, Charlton, 23 or 26.
He would play great.
Completing 91% of his passes. Yeah. And you can't get into the end zone, Charlton. You can't put the game away. But when you get into the press conference, you start pointing fingers. Yeah. And I know you got three pointing back at you. Yeah. But that little scowl doesn't work anymore. No. And I think the greatest thing about that game, Charlton, is that the kicker, King, for Denver, that John Gruden cut. He cut him. He said he was too cocky and arrogant. Yep. Okay? Who kept Oakland pinned down. Sure did. He released a little YouTube video, Charlton. Yeah. Where he was sitting up in a parking lot. He had a Chucky doll with a lot of dollar bills stuffed around. Yeah. Sitting there with that dazed and confused look. And that's what John Gruden had.
Well, see, I'm not making it a big issue. It's just when guys who trust an open heart surgeon that loses 81 surgeries on the table and saves 81 guys, and then the week later he loses another one. So now he's 81 saviors, and he's lost 82 on the table. If you're getting surgery, who would go to that doctor, let alone give him $100 million? So maybe he has some pictures on Davis that he found out when Al was alive, and he found it in the safe or something. But no one can tell me in their right mind that Davis knew what he was doing when he gave the guy that his daddy fired $100 million. If you're fired by someone's dad, don't you think you can respect your dad a little bit better and understand it? All that cussing and all that theatrics on the sideline is earned him this great white hype of a coach by media, and you guys know it's true. All I say is Google his record. Whether he wins or not makes me no difference whatsoever. But people are saying maybe it's time to let Mike Tomlin go because he's only the third winningest coach in the NFL. He's won a Super Bowl. The Steelers have made the playoffs about 70% of the time that he's coached there. But they're saying we need to get rid of him. But Gruden, who's lost more than he's won, they want to keep him. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, the thing with Oakland is going to be a long-time turnaround. Well, when you can't coach the way that you coached a decade ago in today's NFL. You don't intimidate players anymore. They have contract structures that are not just that easy to get rid of. And he got rid of a lot of players in the offseason, Charlton. He didn't want those guys with those big contracts. No. He wanted his players in there. But his players, Charlton, they're not getting the job done. No. And so if they're not getting the job done, that means he's not getting the job done. But, the media is going to start blaming the players. Yep. They're not going to look at what he's not accomplishing as a head coach, Charlton. All of what he promised, all of what this ballyhoo about bringing him back, this quarterback whisper. Derek Carr had as good a game as a pro quarterback.
Oh, my goodness, yes.
On Sunday. Yeah. And I think at the end of the day, he had an L behind that game set.
Yeah. Big C, they've quit on him. You know what it's like when you're going to go on that date. And she says, you can pick me up at 6 o'clock. So you do your best thing to show up at 5:55. You show up at 5:55, you make sure you're there on time, you go up, ring the doorbell, and the mama says, well, she's not home. Okay? She's not home. The Raiders have checked out on Gruden. but he checked out on them first. I know people are going to say, well, Chucky's going to need some time to build this thing. He let go of, 25 players? And a lot of those players were Pro Bowl players. Okay, and King, he also got rid of Crabtree. And then if you can get rid of, I can tell you, if you think about what they just did with Mac was the tip of the iceberg. Now, we know that they always say players play for the paycheck. But if you don't believe in somebody, how long do you stay at that door when she says, pick me up at 6? It's now at 7 o'clock, and she's still not there. Big C, I think the Raiders have checked out because he checked out on them. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, we've seen this with a couple teams this year. We've seen it with Detroit, who has had it seem like they've checked out on Patricia.
Yeah.
And with the Raiders, when you have a coach with too much ego,
yep,
and the players are the ones that have to perform, the wins and losses come down on them, Charlton. They have to go out and battle for 60 minutes on game day.
Yeah.
And what they get back to the sideline and you're being berated.
Yep.
They're at a point now, educationally and financially, Charlton, they don't take that.
They don't need it.
They honestly don't. When a player's had enough, they're like, hey, one of us going to get fired. I know I can go play on another team, but you can't go to another team and coach.
Yeah, that's true. Unless Mark Davis doesn't realize how to Google someone's win-loss record. I want to run down a couple of scores real quick. The 49ers at home, 30-27 over the Detroit Lions. They were up pretty big, and Detroit's a bad team. But they came back on the 49ers at Levi Stadium. Just give me your thoughts on that game, Big C. 30-27.
Well, Charlton, this was a game that, you got two high-priced quarterbacks.
Yeah.
You would think that the 49ers, after that performance the previous week by the Lions, would have been able to just dominate that game. But this is another game that questionable call came in at the end of the game, Charlton, that cost Detroit an opportunity.
It sure did.
To probably pull this one out.
Yeah.
So now they're 0-2, and the Niners are 1-1. We still haven't seen that superstar in Jimmy G yet.
No.
This season. It's only 2 games in, Charlton, but he has to play a lot better. Actually, Sam Darnold played better against the Lions defense than what Jimmy G did.
I agree very much so. Also, we look at the Dallas Cowboys and the New York Giants. Eli Manning looked pretty bad. 2013 Dallas. I thought Dak Prescott looked very good. Even for the knucklehead broadcasters out there, they're saying, I think the Cowboys should have kept Tony Romo. That girl is gone. She's not coming back. Prescott is an amazing quarterback, talent-wise and arm-wise. He just needs better receivers to throw to. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, they brought him in a receiver this past week, Tavon Austin, former number 1 draft pick of the Rams.
He's
when
good.
They were in St. Louis.
He's good.
And Dak Prescott found him early in the game for a 65-yard touchdown. He had somebody who could stretch the field, Charlton. It makes a difference for a quarterback when you have that guy who can take the top off of a defense.
Yep.
Well, when you look at the Giants, Charlton, they just seem hapless. And now people are questioning why didn't they take a quarterback in the first round. When you see Eli is regressing each week, Charlton.
Yeah.
He was a poor performance against Jacksonville and even a poor performance against Dallas. When you're getting sacked 5 and 6 times every game, you can't always just blame it on the offensive line.
No, you can't.
He can't get rid of the ball, Charlton. He lacks mobility. Dallas knew that. They blitzed him all night long. This game was not as close as the final score because they scored a meaningless touchdown, Charlton, at the end of the game to make it seem like it was close.
Yeah, and I want Al Michaels is a great. He may be one of the greatest broadcasters out there, but everything, if you don't tell the truth, then it doesn't matter how great you've been. Tell the truth. They don't knock Eli Manning, but they were all trying to jump on Prescott, and if Prescott made a bad throw, well, that was behind him. But Eli, well, the receiver has to make more of an effort. You just watch it, okay? I'm not being naive. Like Gus Johnson said, you're going to believe your eyes are what they tell you they want you to see. Matt Ryan with a big win over the Panthers. Atlanta really needed that. 31-24 over Carolina. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, Cam Newton has only won 1 game in his career in Atlanta. I think when he goes home, because that's where he's from, he gets too much home cooking, and he can't play with that emotion of the crowd and, feeling that, he needs to beat Atlanta. But Atlanta desperately needed this. They finally woke up with some red zone scoring that they didn't have in the previous week, Charlton. And that's one of the struggles they had at the end of last season. And in their first game this season, Charlton, I think they've worked those woes out, and they'll be streaking from here on. But they got New Orleans next week, so that's going to be another conference battle, Charlton.
Always a conference battle. The Chargers 31, the Bills 20, and that was, I think we were looking for, what do you call your friends, Kuiper and McShay, and we saw Allen play, but he didn't set the world on fire, and they're going to say he had a good game, but I mean, I just don't understand. They had Tyrod Taylor. They had a playoff quarterback. And now, remember we talked about boxing? People don't mind if you steal money from them as long as you tell them you're going to steal it first. Okay? The Buffalo Bill fans, God bless them, because they went from seeing a playoff quarterback to seeing this, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, they've seen two quarterbacks in the first 2 weeks of the season masquerading as quarterbacks, okay?
Yeah.
It's a dismal performance, Charlton, by these two guys. And Josh Allen, everybody said, well, he needs some time. Well, if you need some time, why you spend a first-round draft pick on it?
Yeah.
You know, if he needs time, you could have got him in the second or third round.
Yeah.
Everything would have been okay. He would have had time to wait in the draft. He'd had time to wait on the sideline.
Yeah.
Because he's not NFL ready, Charlton. He's 2 to 3 years away if he's going to be a bona fide starter in the NFL. And he has no help. McCoy just got hurt, so he has no running game. So now it's all on his arm, Charlton. The offensive line can't protect him. They couldn't block for the runners.
No.
The defense is just giving us touchdowns like raindrops.
Yep.
They're falling everywhere. Not only that, and I really respect this guy for this, Charlton, and he's going to get a lot of flack in the media. He got it today, and it's going to be all week long. Vontae Davis, cornerback. His brother Vernon Davis played out there with the 49ers, Charlton.
Yeah.
He was an 11-year pro out of the University of Illinois. Decided at halftime that he wanted to retire.
Yeah.
That he didn't want to deal with this game anymore. He knew the situation was in Buffalo. He recognized it. This is a season in futility.
Yeah.
But we started out the program, Charlton, talking about boxing, where Mike Tyson decided, hey, I don't want to lose this fight. I'll just forfeit it.
Yep.
We had Roberto Duran doing the same thing.
No Moss.
No one looked at those fighters in that way. You know, here it is. You got guys saying, well, he gave up on his teammates. No, the organization
gave up. Yeah.
But think about that. I was on a playoff team last year. The organization got rid of everything that allowed us to be a playoff team.
Yeah.
I'm sitting here on a team that's going to potentially lose 15, 16 games this year.
Yep.
And you're telling me I need to go out and play my butt off every week just trying to get one of those wins. After 11 years in the NFL, I've had enough. There's no need in putting my body or my mind through this anymore, and I'm retiring.
Yeah.
I respect it for that, Charlton, because when a team cuts a player, and we just saw two kickers get cut.
Yeah.
You know, one in Cleveland, one in Minnesota. Nobody's crying for them. Nobody's saying, you know, they turned their back on the team because they missed field goals and extra points. They're not. They said, good riddance, that kicker gone. We happy.
They're happy that he's out of there.
The starting defensive back to say, hey, I don't want to be put through this anymore. Everybody saw him a quitter.
No, he's not a quitter. He's smart. You know, sometimes players, if you feel like you're concussed or you just don't feel right, you don't need the fans to tell you keep doing it until you can't function. If your body tells you when it's time to go, Titans 20, Texans 17. I thought that was a good battle for both teams down there in that division, Big C. Give me your thoughts on, I mean, that was a game that the Texans could have won, but the Titans pulled it out. Your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, it was a shocker. You know, they had some tremendous plays, you know, on the Titans' behalf. Charlton and Mariota didn't play in the game, which really shocked a lot of people that they were able to pull out this victory. Houston has to find a way to get their offense, you know, kick-started. It's not the offense they had last year with Watson. Maybe the play calling's a little different, but they need to find a way to motivate that offense and get it on track. I mean, they got to get Watson outside the pocket and maybe become a little more mobile.
They got to do that. Big C, the Saints 21, the Browns 18. The Browns, they're getting better. They're getting better. I thought they held the Saints to a lower point total than I thought, but they're getting better, Big C. How do you say that was a good loss for the Browns, Big C? Your thoughts?
Well, Zane Gonzalez, you know, when I saw the kicker from New Orleans, you know, controlling him after the game, I thought he was telling, hey, I got a rule because you're going to go catch me. You know, you don't even have to get on the plane. You just stay here in town.
Yeah.
You know, you look at the Browns, they're playing much better as a team.
Oh, yeah.
The players on this team are playing more intense football than what they've had in the past.
Yeah.
I mean, they haven't won a game, and I mean, there's no such thing as moral victories in sports. You got to win.
Yeah.
That's all that counts is the win-loss.
Yeah.
And so this was a game that they fought till the end, Charlton. They came all the way back. Tyrod Taylor threw a spectacular touchdown pass with little time left on the clock. But
Yep.
you hanging out in Drew Brees' house.
Yep.
You know? And he took it down, got his field goal range, and New Orleans knocked it through, and the Browns are 0-1-1. They haven't played bad, but they're 0-1-1. They're still looking to notch their first victory, Charlton.
Yeah, well, we have the Dolphins and the Jets. The Dolphins are 2-0. Are they good, though, because they beat the Jets that beat up on Detroit, and then they kind of came back down to earth? But I want to get your thoughts. Are the Dolphins really a good team, or is it because this is only week 2, Big C? Your thoughts?
You know, Ryan Tannehill played like an NFL quarterback in this game,
Yeah,
Charlton.
yeah.
And I think the Jets had a little bit of hangover after going up to Detroit and saying we knew what they were calling offensively. We knew all their plays.
Yeah.
And you know, I think the Dolphins heard what they were saying and said, let's trick them. Let's give them a play and make them thinking we're running that.
Yeah.
And you got to realize they were down, 20 points before they even realized they were in the game.
Yeah.
And so you're not going to stay down with a rookie quarterback, Charlton, and thinking that you can come back. You know, NFL teams want rookie quarterbacks throwing the football frequently.
Of course.
And Donald, even though he had a great game statistically, you can't keep playing from behind, and everybody's proved that in the NFL.
That's a very good point, Big C. What I thought was a quarterback that you were saying all last year. In fact, when they let go of Alex Smith, you said, watch Mahomes throw. I said, Big C, come on. Everybody throws the ball down there in the Big 12. You said, watch this guy. 42-37 win over Pittsburgh. I think he's the only quarterback in the history of the NFL to have 10 touchdown passes in his first 2 games. And now the whole media is jumping on this guy's bandwagon. You were jumping on it last year when I guess he was down at your house eating that fried dog and moonshine, Big C. You thought?
Well, you think about this kid, Charlton Mahomes. I mean, in the preseason.
Yeah.
He completed 72% of his passes in the preseason.
Amazing.
So it wasn't a fluke thing. Andy Reid, when you talk about quarterback gurus, and that's what everybody said John Gruden was. But Andy Reid has developed some quarterbacks since he's been in the NFL. You get the guys who have played there for him, Charles.
Yeah.
He's developed these guys. And when he traded up to get Mahomes last year in the draft, Charlton, but he also knew it wasn't a rush to have him playing.
Yep.
Is that he wanted him to learn the system completely.
Yeah.
And he gave him the time to do that. Alex Smith had an all-pro season, throwing for over 4,000 yards. 26 touchdowns, 4 or 5 interceptions.
Yep.
You don't get rid of quarterbacks like that.
No.
But they did. Mahomes, when you look at the weapons that he has, he has Hunt. He has a human joystick out there, playing wide receiver. They brought in the Watson.
Yep, Watson's amazing.
He had Kelsey, one of the best tight ends in the game. So he has a wealth of weapons, Charlton, around him. But his knowledge of the game, you don't throw for 1,500 yards in college not understanding what you're doing. You can say, well, he played in the same conference Baker Mayfield did.
That's true. Yeah. Yeah.
So, the Heisman Trophy played in that same conference and didn't have the same statistics that Mahomes had.
Yeah.
So this was a kid that proved that he could play, and he did that. But, to throw the six touchdowns on Sunday against the Steelers, Charlton, and he had a full grasp of the offense.
Yeah.
When you look at the passes that he threw, Charlton, he was pinpoint with those passes. They weren't all over the place. He was pinpoint. I believe in the game he was like 23 for 26 or something like that. And, he had more touchdowns than incompletions in the game.
Yeah,
you go find a quarterback in the NFL this modern day,
you can't.
Super Bowl era,
you can't.
That you throw more touchdowns than interceptions in the game. Incompletions in the game. You just don't find that.
No, I think he's amazing, Big C. I want to finish out real strong. The Buccaneers 27, the Eagles 21. We said that the Buccaneers would beat the Eagles, the defending Super Bowl champions. And when you think about the magic they have, this quarterback, I don't know if Winston gets his job back just because he's Winston. I think you got to beat out Fitzpatrick. Right now, I would not take Fitzpatrick out of the center position. I mean, I would not take him out of the quarterback starting position. I want to see Fitzpatrick behind center until he proves otherwise. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, he has to lose 3 games to lose his starting job, Charlton, because right now all the receivers are on the same page as him. Jackson, Evans. When you look at the tight end, OJ.
Yeah.
I mean, these guys are living in a world of fantasy right now. You think about it. Back-to-back 400-yard passing games, Charlton.
Amazing.
4 touchdowns passing. You got an offensive line that's blocking. The thing that you have with Fitzpatrick, Charlton, is that you don't have an ego. You got a guy that he's been on this, this thing before.
Yep.
Where he's gone out and he's thrown 5 interceptions. He's thrown 5 touchdowns. And he knows that. But he's intelligent enough, Charlton, to understand what he's working with. And he's working with some receivers. You think about Jackson in that game, Charlton, yesterday?
Yeah.
He holds the Eagles' record for touchdowns over 50 yards in a season.
That's incredible.
He also holds the record for touchdowns over 50 yards against the Eagles.
Yeah.
He was like homecoming, all wrapped up in one.
All wrapped up in one. Now, he's amazing. I really love watching him play. Final couple of games, Big C. The Colts 21, Redskins 9. And the Redskins, for the first time in about 50 years, did not announce a sold-out crowd. They looked like they had 30,000 empty seats. At one time, I thought they were at the Coliseum in Oakland playing the games. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, when you look at what this team has done, the owner, Snyder.
Yeah.
The controversy about the team's name, Charlton.
Yeah.
He's taken away all the pregame hoopla that they would have there. It would almost be like a carnival atmosphere in Washington. He's taken that away from the fans. And so the fans are taking something away from him, revenue.
Yep.
So we won't show unless you give us what we were accustomed to having.
Yeah.
We're used to having a winning product, which they hadn't had for the past couple of years, with your cousin playing quarterback.
Yeah.
They bring in Alex Smith. Adrian Peterson disappeared after one game. He was a one-game hype, just like he was last year when he went to the Cardinals. He had a good game, and then he fell off a cliff.
That was shocking.
But, the thing is, you have to win consistently. Washington hasn't won consistently. Even though they won their opening game, Charlton, now they're 1-1. They have to win consistently. Those are very knowledgeable fans in D.C.
Final 2 games, the Rams with a 34-0 beatdown of the Arizona Cardinals, and they look like they're already ready for the NFC Championship game. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, when you look at the Rams, just a dominant team. They're doing everything offensively that you can ask. And you shut out an NFL team, Charlton, even though it's only the second game of the season, you pitch a shutout. And you think about Sam Bradford. We talked about when we see Josh Rosen starting after game 2 with the Cardinals. Sam Bradford, Charlton, threw for less than 100 yards in this game against the Rams defense.
Wow.
We talked about the upgrades that they had in the secondary and on the D-line.
Yeah.
It's proven its worth, Charlton, here early in the season.
It's amazing that Bradford's playing and starting, and then Bridgewater, playoff experience, is on the bench, and then Kaepernick still can't find a job. Tonight's final game, Big C, we have Monday Night Football. We have the Chicago Bears at home, Monsters of the Midway, the Seattle Seahawks coming to town with the elusive Russell Wilson. They're not bringing that crazy, strong defense they used to have back in the day called the, what were they called, Big C? The Fish Brothers? Up in I thought it was they smell like fish now more than what they used to have with the Desert of the Legion of Boom. It's more like the Fish Brothers. Wasn't the Blues Brothers out of Chicago, Big C? The Blues Brothers meet the Fish Brothers. Tonight, your thoughts?
Yeah, the Blues Brothers out there. I mean, both of these teams have had the blues, but when you look at what both of these teams possess, Charlton, last week, Chicago got off to a good start offensively against Green Bay. They showed that they can move the ball.
Yeah.
They have 2 excellent backs in the backfield. You give Trubisky some time, he can hit the short intermediate route.
Yeah.
Seattle is a team in trouble, Charlton. When you think about Russell Wilson last week, he was sacked 6 times by Denver.
Wow.
The offensive line in Seattle is just atrocious. I mean, it's been that way for a couple of years, but I think that things decline. When we talked about Florida State earlier, Charlton, in the program, how their offensive line had no tenacity and guys seem like they don't want to block. Russell Wilson is running for his life every day. His career has been shortened a couple years being there in Seattle. But you think about the hope that they have, Charlton. They become the new modern-day Raiders on Monday night. They're 7-1 on Monday night, under Pete Carroll.
Wow.
So if they have a chance, Charlton, it's because of their Monday night record, Charlton, to be able to pull it out in the second half.
Well, I still think the best answer to a press conference with all the talk going on and kickers losing their jobs and coaches not having those one-liners, the best interview of a press conference after a loss was John Gruden's press conference with the Oakland Raiders losing again at Denver. He's even thinking, how did they give me $100 million? Big C, it's a lot of pressure. Big C, back in the day, there was a man by the name of Drew Boudini Brown. He was known as Muhammad Ali's right-hand man. He would always tell Ali, with all you got to use, how can you lose? Rumble, young man, rumble. Big C, what are you looking forward to in the sports universe?
Well, Charlton, there was something that happened over the weekend with all this great football going on. Elian Churches, 31-year-old Ethiopian, broke the world record for a marathon. He ran the time 1 minute less than the record, Charlton. You think about that. Running 26 miles in just a little bit over 2 hours, Charlton. He set a new world record. Not only that, Charlton, it's his 8th consecutive marathon that he has won when I can't even run to the mailbox.
Yeah, that's Big C. Well, I tell you what, I can run 26 miles, but it might take me 26 days, and you can run it too every Monday through Friday at 5 and 6 p.m. worldwide when you follow Big C Sports on the Big C Sports Network, on the #1 network in the United States of America, and Big C Sports has been voted the #1 sports show in the universe, according to Big C and them good old boys down south. As we always tell you, there's never, ever any excuse for domestic violence. If you know any man or woman going through that garbage, please call 911, because no man or woman should ever have to go through that garbage on their own. And as we always tell you on every Big C sports show, we thank you, we appreciate you, and we hope that you have a super fantastic day.